before we formally begin the proceedings, there are a few matters of housekeeping that we should pay attention to. So teams are reminded for the final time that they will have a total of 90 minutes for this mediation. This will be followed by a 10-minute scoring session where participants will remain in the main session and the assessor will be invited to the breakout rooms to complete the scoring. Thereafter, they will be invited back into the room and there will be a short feedback session. A team may take a 3-minute break if they so wish, and such requests should be communicated to the other team member and the mediator as well. You may turn off your video and audio in the event that you wish to take such a 3-minute break. And before both the mediator and negotiator teams may call for one caucus or cross caucus each during such a mediation session. And each caucus may last a maximum of 5 minutes, during which the competing negotiator team will be sent to a separate breakout room. As always, we kindly request that you keep your videos turned on at all times unless you are facing any technical difficulties. And in such an instance, I would encourage you to inform myself or the assistant session supervisor, Cyril, and we will advise you as to how you should proceed further. And please note that no person shall give advice, assistance, or instructions to or communicate or attempt to communicate with any of the participants from the competing teams during the mediation session. All right, I would now like to ask everyone to allow me to take a small virtual selfie in the form of a screenshot. So if you could all put our best faces forward. All right. Thank you so much. And now I would like to invite all the attendees who are not competing to switch off their cameras and put themselves on mute. And without further ado, may I invite the mediator to please take over the running of this session. And we will start timing once the mediator begins the proceedings. Thank you very much. And we wish you all the very best for the grand final of IIMC 2022. Over to you.
Thank you. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everyone. My name is Sophie Kemalazan, and I will be your mediator today. You can call me Sophie. May I ask the parties to present themselves, to say who they represent, and also how do you wish to be addressed? The requesting party.
Good evening, everyone. I am the CEO of Agrisol, Leslie Goh, pronounced she, her, but feel free to call me Leslie. I have with me here my counsel, Anselm, whom I have known and worked with for a long time.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Anselm, the investment counsel for Leslie. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Anselm. And the responding party.
Thank you. My name, my name is, able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well. Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, I think I wasn't able to hear for a second, sorry. Right, my name is Sasha Banks. You may refer to me as Sasha. I am the Deputy Finance Minister of Midland, and my preferred gender pronouns are he, him. And today I have with me my dear friend and counsel, Adya.
Thank you, May. How do you wish to be called? Refer to, can I refer to you as Sasha?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
So as Sasha highlighted, I am the investment counsel for him in this present session, mediation session. You can call me Adya, and my preferred pronouns are she or her.
Thank you, Adya. Thank you, Sasha. May I ask everyone to, if possible, to rename yourself on the screen accordingly so that it's consistent. Thank you so much. And may I also ask the parties to confirm your authority to participate in this mediation and also to make a settlement today.
We confirm authority.
Yes, certainly on our end. Thank you.
Tell that by the body language, but it's good to vocalize your confirmation. Well, just a preliminary remark before we proceed, because we are holding this session online and we are using technology. So if there's any barrier or any deficiency in the communication, please do let me know in one way or another, and so that we are able to make sure that you have enough time to adjust, and we make sure that everybody can fully participate in the process. Another aspect is that some of us, including myself today, are, for us, English is not first language. So if there is anything unclear, if you wish anything to be repeated, please let me know and also bear with me. Okay, have any of you had any experience in mediation before?
Yes, certainly on our side. Yes. Thank you.
Yes, we've been to a few mediations as well.
So I can see where your agreement to mediate comes from. You have had an experience in mediation. Mediation styles differ, so I do want to make sure that we're all on the same page about some basics of how the process will go today and what my role will be in this process. Well, first of all, I do emphasize that you are here because you have agreed to mediate, and I understand that this to be your will to find your own resolution to this dispute, rather than leave it to a third party like an arbitrator to decide for you. And this is really the core of mediation. It's an opportunity for you to openly share what has happened and also to keep control of what is to happen next. My role would be to assist you in this process so that you can have an efficient communication, so that your discussions are productive. I may ask some questions to help you think through what is important for you, what the options are. It is you who make decisions. So whether you come to a resolution, when you come to this resolution, and what the resolution will be depends on you, Leslie, and on you, Sasha. And obviously, Ansem and Adia, you will be helping your clients in their decision making today. Any questions about the roles?
Leslie, is everything going well?
That's good. It's good. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Mediator.
So far,
Asha, is everything all right?
Yeah, I think good. I think we're going good.
Very good. So one of the key aspects of mediation is that you have agreed to CIDRC rules, which bind everyone to confidentiality of the session. And so confidentiality and without prejudice are part of today's proceedings, which means also that if the settlement is not reached, neither of you will be able to use the information obtained throughout mediation in further arbitration proceedings. It also means that as you will be discussing issues and making progress, nothing is agreed on a final basis until everything is resolved on a final basis, until you reach agreement on all the issues. And now a few words how the process will proceed, and I suggest that each party briefly shares your perspective on what has happened and what do you expect to get out of this mediation. After that, we can identify some issues which you think are important to be discussed in order to reach a settlement. If at any point, any party or I myself will consider that it will help the process move forward if we have a private session, please let me know and we can have private sessions. In those private sessions, I will keep the information that you share with me in confidence until you instruct me to share that information with the other party. If you have any questions about that, do let me know. It is a flexible process. At the same time, I will try to keep it organized so that you can have a productive conversation. And an important point is that you do take your time to listen, to think, to learn before you jump into decisions, and also that you do not interrupt each other. That will help the process. So I do want to make sure that everybody's okay with to proceed this way, and that we can go forward with this understanding. You can see the nodding, the body language. It's good, so we can proceed on this basis. Any questions you have?
Leslie, is there any other questions?
Not at the moment. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Mediator.
At any point you have a question, so as I said, this is a process where you feel free to raise that question and ask me. So then I will give the floor to the requesting party. Leslie?
All right. So before we begin, Sasha, we noticed that you might be facing some connection issues. So if at any point of time you need me or Ansem to repeat ourselves, feel free to let us know. All right. So first things first, I really want to thank you and Ms. Mediator for joining us on a Sunday evening. It's especially nice of you to have sacrificed your last few hours of rest before the work week begins and to join us instead. On that more light-hearted note, I would like to take a few minutes in my opening statement to convey two things to you off the bat. First, we want to execute the share purchase agreement as soon as possible to acquire the shares for Chile Seed Oil North Company. Second, we want to protect AgriSol's financial interests. On the first point, we had joined the bidding process to acquire the Chile Seed Oil North Company shares because we believed in the massive opportunity in the market with the privatization of the seed oil industry, and we thank the Midland government for taking this step. Our story then is one of expectations and reality. On our end, you see, we did not just have the best monetary offer on the table. We do believe that our proposal was the best in three more ways: the worker benefits we offered, the grower benefits, and of course, our track record as a multinational seed company. We thought that the government had faith in our abilities, trust in our potential. However, the events that transpired after were unfortunately a little more complicated. First, we expected that after approving the share price, the SPA would be executed shortly after. We expected that we were working with a respected government partner and would communicate with us clearly and promptly. We expected that the terms would be as they discussed and the goalposts would not shift. In reality, the goalposts shifted, and out of nowhere, there was a need for intermediate steps. In reality, we were made to wait and wait and wait, and we received no response. And in reality today, after more than 5 years from our initial agreement, we have yet to have an executed SPA. I hope you understand my disappointment because what I expected was tremendously different from what transpired. Hence, I come here today looking for a response and, importantly, a remedy. Let's put things into perspective. The reality is that the Midland government will continue to hold 49% of the shares in each company, and you continue to have a stake. The Midland government stands to gain from having the right partner to work with, and I believe you have rightly done so in being rigorous in your processes to pick the right partner. We believe we remain an ideal partner. Again, we wish to convey this in this session on how we can collaborate in the future. Again, I just want to say, my name is Leslie, but hey, do note, it's pronounced as Leslie, not Leslie, because I clearly would never lie to you. This leads me to my next point. Both of us came to this mediation table looking for a safe and open environment for us to hash out our concerns. With that, I hope you will be as open as me as I am to you. I will now pass my time over to you, Ansel, to further elaborate on what I've mentioned thus far and propose ways in which we can move the discussion forward. Ansel, please.
Thank you, Leslie. So two very quick things from me. First, I will explain my role as a counsel to Leslie. And second, I will build on what Leslie has spoken about and suggest ways we can continue this conversation for an ideal solution for both parties. So let me start by briefly explaining my role in this mediation. So unfortunately, like Adia, I've been cursed with a law degree. So while Leslie and Sasha talk business and government, I will jump in to clarify the state of play, the viability of solutions, and ensure in overall that Leslie's interests are met. I'm not sure if you are familiar with the following quote. If you can dream it, you can do it. Well, in all the years I've worked with Leslie, I've always joked with her that if she can dream it, I will do it for her. But on to more serious matters. Well, the elephant in the room is the legal background to this discussion. Leslie submitted a notice pursuant to the BIT alleging breach of investment guarantees, including Articles 2.1, 2.2, and 2.3. And I have advised her that there are sound legal contentions in her favor. That being said, Adia, you and I will need to be clear with our clients that going down the route of arbitration will lead us to facing like what I like to call the three-headed hound. If you are familiar with the monster from Greek mythology, the three ugly heads in any arbitration claims are number 1, extremely high costs, number 2, possible damage to reputation, and number 3, deterioration of any good relationship between parties. Hence, I would like to highlight that Leslie has chosen to be reasonable to initiate this mediation. She believes that while an arbitration can award her with compensation, it can never award her with the collaboration that she desires with the Midland government. So thanks to Leslie's desire to mediate, we now have a 6-month time frame to resolve this amicably. But of course, if we resolve this matter within 90 minutes, that would be fantastic as well. So let me move on to the second part of my opening statement and suggest ways we can build on what Leslie has already spoken about. Leslie has made it clear that she has 2 interests, which can be neatly summarized into 2 Ps: purchase and profits. Leslie wants to purchase the Chile Seed Oil North, hence execute the share price purchase agreement as soon as possible. And of course, as a businesswoman, Leslie wants to ensure the profitability of a company. As Ms. Mediator, Leslie will need to hear whether the government of Midland is willing to work together with her to tackle the problem at hand. An ideal discussion will focus on 2 things. Number 1, addressing the economic goals of both parties. And number 2, establishing a good investment relationship between both parties. And Ms. Mediator, Leslie hopes this will be reflected in any agenda you come up with or any responding party proposals. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leslie and Anselm. Let me briefly summarize what I heard from you. You started talking about the background of this relationship, and specifically, Leslie, you mentioned the joint bidding process and your expectations from it. You mentioned that your proposition was not only best in terms of the finances, but also your bidding proposal included worker benefits, grower benefits, but also that your company had a credible track record. That was the basis for your selection. You then mentioned that some events, how events developed afterwards were unexpected for you, particularly the time it took and the intermediate steps that took place on the way. This was unexpected from you, and you spoke about also about the importance of communication, both in terms of clear and timely communication in this process. That is something that you also expected. Your expectation, as I understand from this process today, is to be open to talk about, you mentioned 2 things. One is concerns, and another one is how can you build partnership, the right partnership, and how can you collaborate on this project. And I appreciate, Anselm, you adding on about the various reasons why arbitration might not be the best solution for either of the parties, whether it's cost or damage, or most importantly, the relationships you mentioned. And I understand that looking at today's session, this is something that you want to make sure that this process addresses. One is the relationship investment relationship and the economic goals of the parties from this investment. Is there anything you would like to add? Okay, so you're okay with this, with my understanding, and as I understand,
Yes.
we can proceed
Thank you, Vitaly.
for now. Yeah,
Thank
thank you. So Sasha, over to you.
Thank you. Greetings, everybody. Thank you, Sophie, for explaining the rules and process of mediation so succinctly. You certainly have created a safe and confidential environment for our interaction. We hope that with your aid, we will be able to drive this process into a mutually beneficial situation. Firstly, I thank you, Leslie and Anselm, for inviting us to this mediation table today. We have had a long-standing relationship with Calisota, where both the states have benefited greatly, and we wish to maintain the same with Calisota and your company. We appreciate your remarks on mutual collaboration and putting out your concerns, and also the slight humor, so we move ahead with the jovial and collaborative setting. I am assured you won't lie, Leslie, and I assure you, I and my counsel, we shall be frank, forthcoming, and transparent in our discourse, and hope you shall reciprocate similarly in an interest-based mediation where we move away from our positions. Now, before coming to my interest today at the mediation table, I would like to put out the context of the facts leading up to the situation from our side. We believe that the privatization of oil companies would be a groundbreaking process for our economy. And therefore, after the preliminary bidding stages, your company, Agrisol, was selected on 2nd April 2017. However, as we mentioned in our mail, 7th May, just a month after, that there were a lot of intermediary steps involved before the negotiation process could be finalized. We received your reply, and believe me, we tried our best to go over all these concerns and processes as the time and situations would permit us. We hear your concerns about delays and differences in reality and expectations. We understand that whatever you say are an expression of your emotions and interests. We understand that there was a delay, and that was unfortunate. But you need to understand, Leslie, that these delays happen. Why? Because essentially, we are the state at the end of the day, and we are answerable to our people. Ensuring state oversight and confirmations from the government, though may be a lengthy process, which may take time, but are quintessential for preserving the public interest and faith. Where investments need to be protected, so does the interests and sovereign rights of the state, which we draw from our people. This is why we were so shocked when you went ahead with your claim to the court, as we thought we had told you in the negotiation between Ms. Blackpool and Mr. Bright that the reevaluation was in process. However, my counsel and my dear friend Adya helped me understand that our goals are similar, inherently the same. That is the proper disinvestment of the oilseed company and ultimately the welfare of people at large. Therefore, I am here today to talk to you, hear out your concerns, and establish a scenario where we can comfortably go ahead, carry out our negotiations in good faith while addressing all concerns. We need to understand that though there is a disinvestment at play, the government would still be owning a 49% share, and the collaboration would be required moving forward later for mutual benefits. Hence, I would like to say on a positive note, why not start the journey of collaboration from today itself? And so we shall reap the benefits of this mutually beneficial relationship in the future. Anslim, let's all together complete the dream which not just Leslie, but the government of Midland So today, coming to the table, my main interests revolve around the evaluation, the negotiation of the share purchase agreement, and the future relations and investment. I believe my counsel and dear friend Adya would be better able to expand and highlight my interests and our agenda. Adya, if you could just do that. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you, Sasha. Leslie, as Sasha has highlighted, he resonates greatly with your goals. He believes that the ideological similarities you share will buttress and boost your collective collaborative efforts. Sasha accepted your invitation to this table today because he believes that together we will be able to achieve far greater synergies in the long term. If we can address your concerns right now, I know that we would both not benefit from taking this to a long and protracted arbitration because, as Anselm has highlighted, it involves too high costs of litigation and irreparable damage to reputation and relationship that can, easily be solved and bettered if we follow the process of mediation. We thank you for understanding that and initiating this mediation. Now, Charlie wishes to achieve an outcome favorable for everyone, and it supports a collective vision for better investments and a better world for the people of Midland. However, at this juncture, it would also be essential to address our legal concerns, to highlight the realities of the situation, and understand that at present, Agrisol's position with respect to the agreement seems legally untenable. This is because of two reasons. Because firstly and foremostly, negotiations with respect to the modalities of the share purchase agreement are still in progress. And as Leslie, you yourself highlighted, you want to be done with that as soon as possible. But as facts remain, the agreements have not yet reached the execution stage. They are still within the negotiation stage, and there is no validly executed contract. So therefore, it would not fall under the purview of the bilateral investment treaty. And even if it were to fall under the purview of the bilateral investment treaty, there are certain exceptions given under the treaty. For example, public purpose, as set out, which would be a defense to every relevant clause. And delays on grounds of due diligence, which are the primary reason for the, we understand that the delays have been huge, but at the end of the day, they are on grounds of due diligence, and they would fall under this aegis. Thus, the government is in a strong legal position with sufficient legal backing to convince a court against any claims raised by Agrisol. However, based on my conversations with my client, you are a valued investor, and so we would not want to take that course of action. Sasha is here in a collaborative spirit together. We greatly value our relationship with you and believe that there are multiple opportunities to rebuild trust, clear our channels of communication, and strengthen our relationship. I have therefore advised him to engage with you, to understand your concerns and apprehensions, and determine if there is a way to move forward together in a way that benefits both parties and helps sustain and foster international relations. Coming to my role in this negotiation, my contributions here are only in an advisory capacity. It is Sasha who will carry out the bulk of the negotiations. To make the discussions as fruitful and cordial as possible, I request that we refrain from unduly focusing on legal arguments and instead allow our clients to productively engage, discuss their needs and interests, and accordingly build and strengthen the relationship. Leslie, Sasha's presence here today indicates his willingness to engage with you and continue negotiating the agreements while upholding his duty to protect public interest. I have faith that you will share his collaborative spirit and that we will be able to engage with mutual respect and without interruption, knowing that everything we say is confidential. Madam Mediator, I ask that you structure our conversations in a manner most amenable to achieving our collective interests. So coming to Sasha's broader goals today, he has come here today primarily as, Anselm yourself put, to discuss both purchase and profits. But he would like to discuss that under a slightly different set of priorities. For example, he would want to address economic concerns, particularly with continuing to negotiate the current share purchase agreement, especially with respect to the purchase price. But that would be contingent but that would be the primary concern. And the concern of profits would be contingent on that. Additionally, he would like to discuss his future relationship with you as his second primary concern. Sasha, does that sound good?
That does sound good, Adya. And please do not use my middle name, Charlie. I do not use it often. So for
I
reference, why
understand.
you referred to an old friend, my full name is Sasha Charlie Banks, but I would just prefer to call her Sasha.
All right. So in light of this, we look forward to hearing your side, and we look forward to a productive mediation.
Thank you, Sasha. Thank you, Adia. Again, let me briefly summarize what I heard from you. And Sasha, you started from giving the general context and really emphasizing how important the privatization was, process was for your country, the privatization of the seed oil industry. And you said you understand that the process of concluding of the share purchase agreement took some time. You acknowledged receipt of the emails of the requesting party, and you understand that there were delays. You emphasized that the character of the government entity and being accountable to people, and then Adi also spoke about the due diligence requirements. All of that was the reason for the delays and why it took time to and the necessity for the intermediate steps in the execution of the share purchase agreement. You noted that this process is still ongoing, so you are willing and open to discuss the execution of the share purchase agreement in the course of this mediation. At the same time, I heard that it's important for you to discuss the purchase price, and that you mentioned that the second issue, which was raised by Ansem as well, which is profits, is contingent on the negotiation of the price of the share purchase agreement. So I understand that you also mentioned the future relationships, the importance of future relationships, and I believe I heard that from both parties that you are here with a spirit and mindset to really explore what will it take for you to cooperate in the future. So is there anything you would like to add or clarify from
Yes, thank you, Ms.
my
Mediator.
understanding?
Thank you, Adia, for summarizing your client's position. And it seems like the two agenda points that I've proposed earlier on seems to encompass what you have mentioned earlier on. So first point, addressing the economic goals of both parties. I note that your primary concern will be negotiating the current share price agreement, right? Yes. And number two, establishing a good investment relationship between both parties. Yeah, it seems that Sasha is also in agreement with it. With that, Ms. Mediator, would it be possible to pin down these 2 points in the chat?
Let me clarify. So what you mentioned, Ansam, is that economic goals be one of the issues, and under economic goals, you mean also the terms of negotiation of the share purchase agreement. Is that right?
So under economic goals, we are okay to discuss it under the heading of economic goals. First, we would primarily like the discussion of the current share purchase agreement, because that is something which is vital to both the parties, right? And that's where this entire issue starts from, crops up from. I believe the first thing is we can discuss that, and then we can move on to future relations. So we would like if we could just narrow it a little down. What do you think, Adya? Should we change the language a bit? What are your views on this? I really want to know.
Of course, Sasha. I think this is something that both Ansem, Leslie, and you seem to be in agreement over. And that is something I think we can go forward, because the only point we wanted to discuss, which is not, we don't want to bring that up as a point of contention. But the only thing is that our primary concerns would be to discuss, as you said, our economic goals with respect to the negotiations of the share purchase agreement. And then we can move on to discussing our future relations, especially as you spoke about, a speedy and timely execution of the share purchase agreement, and even other possible future collaborations, if at all.
Right. Before that, I just wanted to ask a question to Leslie and Anselm. With respect to the first agenda point that we're talking, and it's great, we are really already have synergies Right. Just want to ask, with respect to the first end about the economic goals of the parties, we would be discussing from, obviously, we believe that share purchase agreement really important. Do you have something else also would you like to discuss under it? Do you have any other ideas about this? So we need to be very sure we're on the same page before we move ahead.
Leslie, do you have anything to add on this?
I think we do, but I think we can leave that. I think the first and foremost important thing is the current SPA. So I think we could just start with that. Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Sounds great,
Of
Leslie.
course. Yeah, it sounds great, but I'm
Right.
so sorry. I'm so sorry. I keep interrupting.
No, you don't. You're just complimenting. Yeah.
All right. The only thing is that Leslie said that it's not that important, and we would like to highlight that we are not coming here to say that our interests are more important than yours. If there is anything that you wish to discuss, we are amenable to discussing it, and that is why we are here today in a collaborative setting and in a confidential setting. So rest assured, if you have any concern, you can put it out on the table right now.
Definitely. Thank you, Adya. Thank you, Leslie and Anselm, and thank you, Sophie. I think we almost have an agenda here.
Yeah, let me just clarify that we are all on the same page. So I understand that both parties see the issue to be economic goals, and both parties understand that this will be economic goals with respect to this share purchase agreement. Is that correct? Is this how you want me to identify this first issue?
Okay.
Okay, and the second issue you mentioned investment relationships, and yeah, here you will discuss more the execution and maybe some other opportunities to cooperate.
Right.
Thank you, Ms. Later.
Yeah, and if at any point you feel there is a new point to be added, feel free to raise it. Okay, then I leave it up to you. Where I understand that you would like to start with the share purchase agreement, discussing the share purchase agreement.
All right. So we can start with the share purchase agreement. All right. So Leslie, as I have already mentioned in my opening statement, that the delays, we acknowledge that it was unfortunate. And I mentioned the reasons as well for the same. Nadia complimented the same by saying that there were a lot of due diligence procedures. There were a lot of, changes which underwent. There were a lot of governmental oversight which needed to be done, right? We could finalize this entire process, right? So that was the reason of delays. So I hope if we can move past, what do you think? Can we move past these delays? And now we can actually go ahead to talking about the reevaluation of the share purchase agreement and like negotiate. Can we do that? What do you think, Adya?
Sorry, did you mean to refer to me or to Leslie?
No, I asked the question to Leslie. Do you have anything? I think this is the good first step we should take. Do you have anything to add?
No. Basically, yeah, that's exactly what you said. If we can, acknowledge the delays, and if you have any other concerns you would like to highlight right now, if we could perhaps address at this stage, or then we could move on to discussing, the larger economic goals. Please go ahead, Leslie.
Thank you, Adya.
All right. So thank you for that clarification. For us, I think there are certain things we would like to share to put things in perspective. We understand that a lot of our initial unhappiness has been communicated to you before today's mediation, but we came here to the mediation table today to put all of that conflict behind us. We seek a long-term relationship, and in that, we believe we need to support the government should you have any concerns. I think you've explained in your opening statement certain things, that the delays were unfortunate, that there were due diligence procedures, changes, governmental laws, the process of finalizing this. We understand, but perhaps we need a little more detail on why specifically there was a time lapse between the approval for both parties to enter into the SPA and the months of silence actually that happened after. I think we would have really appreciated perhaps an update of sorts, about all these processes that were happening, because we felt that there were months of silence where we were kept with no updates. Heck, I think I was panicking to my lawyer that, oh no, are they not interested in the deal anymore? So now I say this with an open mind and an open heart. This is in no way an interrogation, because we sincerely want to understand your positions and know how we, as the supporter of the government, can best help you. So perhaps, and so could try to summarize all of the things that I mentioned. Sorry.
Yeah, so I think my client has accurately pointed out that because of the long delay, some months, and even it took, if I'm not wrong, 2 years, and the share purchase agreement has not been executed. So my client would like to have more information as for why are there no updates during this whole process, and why are there moments of cold silence? Yes, over to you, Sasha. Thank you.
All right. Leslie, first of all, no need to panic. Not at all. All right. We value you as an investor. We value you as an amazing businesswoman. And the reason why your bid was selected in the first place, because of your ability. So we rest assured we won't ghost you. Right. Now coming to the months of silence. Okay. So with respect to that, as I said earlier also, there were a lot of things and oversight, a lot of procedures which had to be done by the Ministry of Finance. They had to review all the proposals top to end, looking out the benefits to the workers, what's going on, what are the prices running currently, right? How's the market changing? A lot of these things, a lot. We realized that the months of silence were unfortunate. I acknowledge that. It was unfortunate. Right. And good faith, I understand and we acknowledge that. But having said that, rest assured that we've traversed a long distance from there. We have had a lot of research behind us. We have done a lot of procedures and looked into a lot of things. And delays are something which won't happen now, because we have due diligence to your company from a lot of perspectives, looked at a lot of situations, right? Now, delays are something which we are sure won't happen now, right? And within the sessions or other sessions. Also, if I'm being really honest with you, Leslie, you know what? I let you on a little concern, okay? So what happened is that in the past, a lot of times, our country has suffered from, certain preconceived sweetheart deals with multinational corporations, right? And our self-interest is something which is suffered in those instances. We did not want such a mistake to happen again, right? We did not want, these things to come up against. That's why there was such a massive due diligence process. It was not about your ability or your company's ability, but it was about to ensure us that such things would not come up again, right? And many experts needed to be consulted in this entire process, right? That's why it was so expensive, right? That was the main reason then why it happened. And you know what? Moving forward, right? If this obviously contingent on how this renegotiation goes, right? And how we can go ahead with this, if it goes to a good place, right? And we actually will renegotiate and actually develop future relations. What we can do also is that we can maybe develop direct lines of open communication, right? Right from my office to yours. That's contingent on how this goes, but that is something which will really help your concern and will never make you panic at all, right? Because we don't want that. We don't want our investors panicked at all. So having said that, I hope that answers your concerns, and we hope we can move forward and move forward in our relationships towards our interests. Adya, just for a second, could you just briefly summarize all of these things I've said, because it might be a bit confusing to give all the reasons at once. Thank you.
Sure, but rest assured, I think your pace was pretty good. But even if you still want me to summarize, of course I can. So essentially what has happened is that there have been a lot of due diligence concerns which arise in every government and which at the end of the day are unavoidable. Additionally, Sasha had an added element of public interest and public concerns to look into at that stage, which was that we had our public was concerned and a voter body was concerned about foreign investors perhaps coming in and not being able to sweet talk their way into deals that were otherwise very bad for the Midland nationals. So there was additional due diligence concerns that were added onto that, and that is why it took such a long time to resolve it. And at that point of time, since it was difficult, we again, Sasha acknowledges that these concerns were perhaps not, well, they were called for, but the delays were perhaps undue. But at that point of time, there was really nothing else that they could have done about it. But he indicates his interest to, acknowledge that and move forward. And if that addresses your concern sufficiently, then perhaps move towards renegotiating the SPA and the share price. Is that amenable to you?
Thank you, Adia, for your brief summary. Rest assured, Leslie, Sasha has reassured us that his Midland government is looking into the SPA in a very comprehensive manner to ensure that his decision will be good and it will be a foolproof one. And he's also open to establishing open communication line between you and Sasha. So Leslie, would you like to add some words to this?
I think this is an amazing proposition. This really improves the transparency that we've had, especially since the months of silence. But thank you for being so upfront and forthcoming with your suggestion. So perhaps on the point of communication, I think there are certain concerns I would have to address just a little bit more before we can move into the negotiation of the SPA. So, you mentioned that these delays, nothing can be done. And a lot of things transpired in the 3 months. One of the things that transpired is that one of your members have communicated to us that there is a re-evaluation of the share price. So based on our last discussion, we agreed that the value of the share would be 15k Midland rupees per 1,000 shares. Is that detail correct?
Yes.
Yes. And we would like to get a better sensing of what happened then. Why in the 3 months was there that re-evaluation, and why did that, how did that only get communicated to us then? And we would also like to have a better sensing of how the price value of the share was evaluated. So perhaps, I think I mentioned quite a lot of questions that I want answered. So I think my counsel could nicely summarize it for me.
Yeah, sure. To sum up briefly, my client has just echoed one concern, and that concern with regards to the time lapse and the sudden change in the valuation of of the company that we are looking at. So we would like to have a better sensing as to why do you come to a conclusion that the share price has been, will need a re-evaluation, and how the price value of the shares are being evaluated. Yeah. Sasha, would you like to shed some light to this?
Sure, definitely. Before I start, what I wanted to know, are you referring to the meeting that happened, the negotiation between Ms. Bright and Ms. Black? Are you referring to that particular negotiation?
I believe so.
On 18th January 2018, if I'm correct. Right. Okay, definitely. Sure, why not? So with respect to that negotiation, Leslie, what happened is that, excuse me, cough is happening these days, right? So with respect to that particular really sorry, right? Let me just have a sip of water so I can go ahead.
Sure.
Right.
Queries though.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you for being patient with me. Okay, with respect to that negotiation, so what we observed as per the, what was communicated, I think on the 4th of April, something around 2nd of April, when the approval of the price, 2nd April 2017 was when there was a preliminary kind of approval of the prices. And on 7th May, just a month after, we said that there will be a review by the Ministry of Finance, right? That Ministry of Finance was supposed to review all the documentation and proposals done by the supervisory and the management board of Chile Oil, right? That's what's supposed to be done and that happened on 7th May. We received a reply on 10th May. And from 10th May to 18th January, and even, when things were changing, we believed that due to the market conditions, right, were changing, right? And there was a change in the environment generally, right? In the workers' value, in the workers' worth. We carried a lot of, we were trying to assess the proposals by the management body, supervision them, right? We're looking into them, researching what are the fair prices, what is happening, right? Because I said on 7th May, we told you that, this is going to happen, right? So we looked into that in those, number of months from 10th May to 18th January. We went ahead and we found out that, that the fair value of the shares going by the worker benefits, their value, what they are producing, and the value of the Chile oil as well, like all the the factors of production combined, we believed at that point of time that the fair value is something which is higher, right? And you were still assessing it. Didn't reach a final number then. We were still assessing it that there's something which is higher, right? And that was the main reason. Adya, do you have anything to add on this?
No, Sasha, I think you explained it perfectly well. There were concerns that our experts raised about the agreement perhaps not being fair and like as per the current market value, and that is why we raised the concerns about renegotiating the purchase price. Does that sufficiently address your concerns? And could you just also let us know exactly why you wish to know about this? Because I think you were also amenable to renegotiating these prices at a later date, right? So could you just tell us more about your position and your interests behind and concerns behind this position?
Thank you, Sasha. In fact, I can just summarize for my client in a very simple manner. So first, the underlying reason behind this re-evaluation of Chile Seed Oil North is because there are changes in the market condition which leads to an appreciation of the share price. So with regards to this, Leslie, would you like to add some words?
I see. So thank you for that really comprehensive explanation. I think it is something that really brought me up to date on what actually has transpired. So perhaps my next question is this. Earlier, you mentioned that the months of silence were, the delay caused by the delays, and it was a very unfortunate situation, which I think we can express our empathy towards. However, we would just like to know, we put forth directly this burning question that we have at the back of our head. Is perhaps the appreciation of the share price why you were perhaps a little bit hesitant to move forward with the SPA?
Leslie, can you just repeat the question? I couldn't get the last bit of that.
All right, so I think we would just like to, to summarize what I just mentioned. I think earlier you mentioned that the 3 months of the silence was happened because of unfortunate delays, and that's something that we express our empathy towards. However, we just, this is a burning question at the back of our heads, and I think I'm just dying to ask this, but I feel like I do have to get this up to achieve better understanding. I would just like to understand whether perhaps the reluctance or slight hesitation in moving forward with the SPA was due to the appreciation of the share price.
Okay. Let me know if I've gotten it correctly. So you're essentially asking that if the delay or hesitation in moving forward, like the months of silence, was it because of the appreciation in the price of the SPA? Right? Is that the question?
We'd just like to know if just perhaps the reluctance, in your moving forward with the SPA was perhaps due a little bit, in some part because of the appreciation of the price.
Yes, Sasha.
Definitely, that was one of the reasons, but there were a lot of other things. This was a process, as I told you earlier, this is something which is going on, right? This is going on along with 10 other processes, right? Too many things going on together, because all compliances, be it the prices, be it the benefits, be it the research, or how, fair value, all needs to be met. So all these things were there, but I wouldn't say that this was the main factor, or this was an extremely crucial factor, right? Because there were a lot of factors. The due diligence and the other things were also really, really important, right? Are there? What do you think about Leslie's question? What else?
I think essentially what Leslie's consideration is she was asking us whether the main reason for our proposal to reevaluate it was based only on an appreciation of the assets. And I think you have addressed it sufficiently. But at this juncture, I think we would like to ask Leslie and Anderson that since you do know about the appreciation of the assets and appreciation of the shares, and since they have been a component of the reasons for the reevaluation of the shares, are you willing to match the market value of the shares right now? Since we are talking about economic considerations and renegotiating the prices of the shares, are you willing to match the market value as it currently stands?
All right, so I believe you have just presented me with a proposition. I think you want to move into perhaps one of the options of the SPA, but I apologize. I just have one more question that I do need to get out before we can move in. I promise you this will be the last. I would just like to find out, because you mentioned earlier that this was one of the crucial factors in the reevaluation perhaps that reevaluation was one of the crucial factors as to why there was a little bit of that hesitation to move forward with the discussion. Just one more thing is, we would just like to find out, is there a concern? Is there a reason why perhaps that wasn't communicated to us earlier? And we would like to know if there are any other burning concerns you have with regards to this reevaluation of the price. Oh, perhaps I think Ansel can summarize what I just mentioned. I think that was a little shabby.
Yeah, as you can see, my client is so ready to kickstart investment in Midland. And so, yeah, she expressed her concerns over why it took so long on the Midland government for you to share with my client this particular issue.
Right. So definitely. So you want me to share any other concerns or questions which you might have for the delay, right? Essentially that.
Essentially, why perhaps was there a reason why this re-evaluation was not communicated to us earlier? And yes, whether you have any other concerns to that effect.
Definitely. Leslie and Slim, rest assured. I will reiterate again. This, the background of the sweetheart deals which had hurt our economy and a country, in the past, was the main background why we're doing so much of due diligence, why we're looking into the reevaluation and everything. And that were the main reasons, right, by which there was, this took the time, right? But currently we're in a good position. We know we are not anymore newbies in foreign investment, and we know how this entire process works. And with respect to the reevaluation, again, I feel that the process was still going on. Even at the meeting, we could not quote you a direct price, right? Or what we think, even a range, because the process was still going on at that point of time. And as Adya and I have told at the start, this is something which had to be consulted, had to be, went through a lot of offices, had to be made sure that this is, we are 100% sure we are not making a mistake again, right? Having said that, I hope I have answered your question. And I really hope that, now since, your concerns are answered, I hope I have, and, we know what your concerns were, we can, move ahead to our future relation, and talk about actually the prices, the reevaluation of the SPA. With something which we can do.
Thank you for being so forthcoming, Sasha. I knew it. I can bank on you. I think right now it will be apt for us to bring up what Adya has actually mentioned earlier on matching the market price, or rather the fair value for Chile Seed Oil North. Leslie, would you like to share some of your point of views on this?
I see. So I think earlier you mentioned the need to match this re-evaluated price. So at this present moment, I think this is when I put forth directly and ask you about the numbers. And we would like to know what exactly is this re-evaluated price that you are interested in for us to match.
Can you just repeat the last bit? I could not hear this. This got cut.
No worries. So I think you mentioned earlier that you are looking to renegotiate the price that we agreed from the original agreement, and you mentioned that this would likely match that of the market price. So we would just like to know exactly what is the re-evaluated share price that you are looking at. This is a question that we have to ask directly with regards to the numbers.
Right. So if I get it correctly, you just want to know the re-evaluated share price, right? All right.
That's right.
Definitely. With respect to the re-evaluated share price, what we have come to now, Adya, we can disclose this, right? Since it's a confidential environment, we can go ahead with this, right?
I think you should be a little careful about the exact modalities and everything else that you're talking about. Perhaps if you want to discuss the exact terms, that is something we should do in a private session with a mediator. But I think you can give a ballpark figure as of now, any reasons for the same. That would be advisable.
Okay, that sounds good. So I think the reevaluation price, as my counsel has advised me to give a ballpark figure, I think the range which we have come up with now is, as per the experts and the finance. Let me just check the reports just a second. No? Yeah, okay. So here the report says, yes, 18.5 thousand to 19,000. Am I right? This was the figure, right? This is what the report says in front of me. That was the figure, 18.5 to 19,000 for per 1,000 shares. That was the reevaluated figure, 18.5 to 19,000 per 1,000 shares. So I hope the figures are clear.
And just to clarify, are we then moving forward to renegotiating this? Could you indicate your willingness to engage with us on this price and understand that since this is the market value, would you be willing to match this price? Could you please indicate your willingness and your interest and any concerns if you have then at this stage before we can conclusively agree on this?
I see. So you mentioned that this is the market price that it's going for. We would just like to understand, is there any other contenders for this, for the land that we have originally agreed? Is there someone else who's willing to match that? Or how did these numbers come out apart from it being the market rate? So sorry.
I would just like to interrupt at this moment and just say that I know that in good faith, you wouldn't really expect us to disclose governmental bids and what other government or other bidders would have done. I know there are regulations against that and you understand that. So perhaps I think we have misunderstood your question a little. Could you just rephrase it in a manner that would not, be violative of any laws? I say this in a completely collaborative way and not in an accusatory way. Let me just clarify that.
Adya, maybe first things first. My client came here with an open attitude and we want to look for a safe space to actually negotiate our new agreement. I think earlier on you mentioned that you would like, when it comes to disclosing the exact figures, you would prefer to do it in a private caucus. Leslie?
I think I have just one more question to ask before we go into the caucus session. Is that okay?
Sure.
Yes, all right. So my last question is that number based solely off the re-evaluation of the share price, or are there any other factors? Was it based solely off that?
I think the question that we would ask then at this stage, since it seems like we have been answering a lot of questions and we have been trying to build up trust in this by being as transparent as possible, but it doesn't seem like we are getting to a certain point in this. I think at this stage, instead of just answering this question as it is, I would like to ask, is there any particular reason why you are asking? Is there any particular reason why you want to know the exact modalities of something and what exactly a market value of something is based on? Is there any concern that you have, or something that you could clarify at this point of time? Because otherwise it seems like this is more of a question answer session where we are just being interrogated, and that's not very, very good at this point of time.
Oh no, I am so sorry if it came across as an interrogation. That is completely not our intention at all. You see, it's just that, again, we had expectations, reality, and that, all of these changes, it's just very, it's just very sudden and new to us. So we're just trying to seek like a deeper understanding of the situation at play. I think, since you mentioned that perhaps we have, you felt that we have been sharing a lot. You have been sharing a lot, and you want to move forward in the discussion. I think there are a certain few things that I would like to talk to the mediator about, like privately, before we can move on. But I assure you, this caucus, whatever we mentioned, we will be open with you after, and we promise that this session will definitely help us to move forward with the discussion of the SPA.
Yep, I think now is a good time to call for caucus. Adia, would you be agreeable to this so as to move the discussion forward and both parties can come to an amicable solution?
Of course, I think discussing your business realities is always a very good option. I think but the final call, and that remains with Sasha. Sasha, shall we move to a...
Definitely, I think that makes sense. The caucus would be good. And yeah, I think there will be in all parties' favor. And first of all, I'd like to congratulate you that we are moving towards a stage where we are actually building trust. And that is so important for actually having a relationship in the future. So congratulations on that. And let's hope these private sessions actually help us move past.
Very
Certainly.
good. So my understanding is that the requesting party would like to have the private session first. Is that right? And is that okay with Sasha and Adia?
That's completely fine with us.
And is this the correct understanding, Leslie and Aslan, that you would like to have a caucus with me now?
Yes, sure. Thank you, Ms. Mediator.
So then I will ask the session supervisor to give a separate room to the responding party.
Noted. I'll send the responding party out.
Yes. Yeah, I think Cyril is currently doing so right now. Thank you, Cyril.
Hi, may I know
Leslie,
how much time we have in this caucus?
we have 5 minutes, as I know.
Right.
So we have 5 minutes, and Leslie and Sam, as you know, this is a private meeting, so anything you say will stay between us, and unless you tell me specifically instruct me to share the information with the other party. So you have called the caucus. So what is it? Yeah, how can I be helpful?
I see. So actually, it is regarding, I think, and I'm first of all a little bit upset that they feel as if we're interrogating them. I just think that it's only right for us to get the details right, especially since we have been left in silence for so long. So we thought that, this was a good chance for us to clear up our doubts, and I'm not sure why they took it as an interrogation. But then, the more important point here is that we feel that perhaps, I think this is not something we can say outright to them, but as per recent business intelligence, we heard that actually our biggest global competitor, Palm Oil, has been perhaps interested in their deals. This is just hearsay. So in no way I present this as the truth, or if anything, it's just hearsay. And I'm just worried that, when I probe further on whether the price range was due to the reevaluation. And believe me, if it was purely due to the reevaluation, we would definitely comply. But we're just a little wary about, be complying so quickly, because I think there are perhaps some reasons they are not sharing with us. And, we feel that, they need, we, as mentioned in my opening statement, we really hoped that they would be open with us to talk about these reasons. And, if they are open with us in these ways, I believe we can give them a proposition that perhaps could bring them over to continue the deal with us, and in a more reasonable way, with more reasonable price. So yeah, so that being said, I'm actually at a loss of what to, how to continue this discussion from here.
Yeah, so as I understand, it's important for you to understand the reasons behind the reevaluation of the price, and specifically if there was anything else other than the reevaluation that affected the renegotiation of the share price. And
Yeah.
you mentioned that you have heard some rumors that there could be another bidder and potentially that that could have affected the share price. Is that right?
We would just like them to be a little more open because,
Mm-hmm.
no judgment here. If that really happened, we are more than willing to prove to the government once again why we are the most ideal potential partner. And, that is something that we're willing to discuss further, but I'm
Just before we left for the private session, I remember the counsel for the responding party asking, what was your interest? How would this information be helpful for you? Remember when you asked this question, whether there was a reason other than the reevaluation? So she asked, how would that information be helpful for you? So I was wondering, what's your thought on that?
I think perhaps I wasn't too clear earlier, but I think this information would help us go a long way as to why they had perhaps kept them in purview, why they are perhaps maybe just a little interested in them, and how we can do better so that we can renegotiate the agreement such that they are much happier with this deal instead. Yeah.
Look, Miss Mediator, my client Leslie has to offer not just monetary benefits, but also intangible benefits such as growers benefit, workers benefit, and all this boils down to the main reason why the Midland government has chosen us as the successful bidder in the first place. So, as mentioned by my client earlier on, she really just want to have a more comprehensive understanding of the underlying reason. Yeah.
All right. So I think in short, perhaps our caucus time is running out. So in short, I think we just want them to be more open. And in the case that we just hope that you could steer the conversation in that direction.
What do you think will help them? What do you think will help them be more open?
I'm not too sure because that's the problem. I don't know what they know. So I would just like them to be open. So, but perhaps, if in the case that they're really, really unwilling to share, I think perhaps we would just have to move forward.
Leslie, would you like to share the threshold price that you're looking at?
I think we would have to perhaps, provide a figure of our own and, provide some information.
Yeah, what is that price?
That would be
18,500. We will. My client's threshold price will be that we are unable to go above.
Time's up, everyone.
Thank you.
And I will not share that information. I will leave it to you.
This meeting.
I think the responding party is back. We can see them.
Let me send the other team out.
I am sorry. I think we got cut off for a bit. Could you just update us on what's happening right now? I think
we're trying to get together.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. I think there was an issue. Are we in the caucus?
No, we not yet. I can only see Adia and Sasha. So I just want to confirm with the session supervisor that the requesting team is not in this room.
Yes, the caucus can begin. I think Cyril has transferred them to the breakout room. Cyril?
That's correct.
Yes, all right.
Then we
So
can
the
start
caucus
the
can begin.
caucus. Yeah, and Adi and Sasha, just to start to repeat that this is a private session, and I will only share what I hear from you with the other party if you instruct me to do so. So how can I be helpful?
What we feel, Madam Mediator, is that firstly we would like to know, is there anything that the other party in their caucus have asked, that can be disclosed to us? so that we can like just build upon that and put out all our concerns before you. Then you can guide us how we should proceed.
Yeah, President, I think we will go back to the main session, and that's when the other party
Okay.
will share what they wish to share.
Okay, completely understandable. Okay, so what we feel, Madam Edita, our main interest currently is that with this, we reevaluated the conditions and we believe the fair value is something which is more. It is in the range of 18.5 to 19. And also there's a factor that we had two plants, right? Chili oil and a south plant as well. The south plant, there is a bidder, right? And we're disclosing this in complete confidentiality. Adi, we can do this, right? With the media, we can disclose. Right.
Yes, yes, of course. We just clarify at the end what exactly we want to remain confidential and what exactly we want to be disclosed.
Yeah.
We have a bidder at the south plant, farm oil, and they have agreed to give us the 18 million value, right, for the 1,000 shares. And therefore, we feel going by this reassessing and the fact that we are getting a higher value at the other plant, we would want that, this particular plant is also not deprived. And we should get the higher value here as well.
And so understand that you have for another plant, the south plant, you have another bidder who is offering 18,000.
Right. So that is why we want that a minimum of at least 18,100 should be the price per 1,000 shares. And that's why we quoted the range of 18.5 to 19. And apart from that, if we can come to the range of, let's say, within this figure of 18 to 19, if we can arrive at a figure with them with respect to the share prices, we are even open to them going ahead and bidding in the south plant as well, because that is something which we would also appreciate. But Madam Media, but the issue is that we do not want to disclose them about the farm oil bid specifically, because we feel that that might not work in our best interest, because then there is no other bidder specifically for this plant as well. So we're not sure how they'll react to the pricing.
I see. So you do not want,
That's all.
How do you feel about sharing the information about, the bidding process for the south plant in general? Not about specific farm oil bidder, but that there's this process of bidding going on for another plant.
No. So the reason we can do that, but we can do that if and only if they agree to the original negotiation of the purchase of the share purchase agreement of this original contract. And for that, as Sasha has said, we need at least 18,100. And before we get this, we are not willing to disclose anything about another bid in the south plant, because that is something that is for us at this point of time non-negotiable. That is the only thing. Sasha, you can take over.
So what you're saying is that the opportunity to bid for the south plant depends on your agreement on the original plant, on the north plant. I see. So
how do you think we should proceed?
Yeah. So my question is, how do you think the opportunity of bidding on another plant, the information that there is this opportunity, how can that affect the chances of agreeing on the original plant?
That sounds like a good option. But we'll not disclose a lot of the specifics. We'll tell them that the other plant, or there might be some potential other investment opportunities, but we can share with you that if this particular deal is finalized. Can we say it in that manner? Or
I'll just have to jump in again, Sasha, at this point, because as your counsel, it is my duty to advise you. As I said before, this is non-negotiable for us. It is only if they agree. Okay, if they cannot agree right now to the exact modalities, at least a soft agreement in principle, that we will get something at least 18,100. And right now, since we are discussing it within the range of 18,500 and 19,000, we would definitely need an agreement of some sort regarding this before we come to the next stage. And I understand that, it might affect our chances better, but that is at the end of the day a little non-negotiable.
Our time is up, so I will not share this information. I will leave it up to you, and maybe you just, I understand that it's important, Adia, for you to first hear from them what they think about the range of of the renegotiated price. I thank everyone. We are back to the main room, and thank you all for taking your time to wait. It was a short time for everyone, but so I leave it to the parties. There was a discussion in the private session with both the requesting and the responding party, and I'm wondering if any of you would like to take a lead and share any information.
Sure, thank you, Ms. Mediator. Leslie, would you like to share some words?
I think earlier I perhaps with the mediator mentioned a little bit of my discomfort with 18.5K to 19K, this range that you have mentioned. I would just like to ask, how open are you to an amount that is lower than that, but above the original price agreement?
Okay, with respect to the amount, we believe that okay, so we believe firstly, we believe that 18.5 to 19K is the fair value, but we understand your discomfort and we really value you as an investor. Also, before I go ahead and give out a value which might work out, because just looking at my documents and folders, I'd want to know from you that why are you uncomfortable with this amount, just to know, just like have an idea. Meanwhile, I just look at the amount. Yeah, like with this amount, why are you like uncomfortable? Essentially, that's all.
So maybe I could just summarize your question. It will be to my client, why she would be uncomfortable with the price range of 18,500 to 19,000. Am I right, Sasha? Yeah, so let me just take this on behalf of my client. So you see, we know that another company known as Farm Oil is looking to bid for Sunny Seed Oil South at 18,000 per share, 18,000 rupees per share. So it would be undesirable, or rather not in the favor for my client to be looking at the share price value of 18,500 to 19,000. Yeah. So Leslie, would you like to share some of your concerns with regards to this?
I think that was something that we shared privately with the mediator. And, while you were having your caucus session, I think my counsel was advising me that perhaps I should be a little more upfront with you on this information. And we believe that we don't feel it's justified to have to pay for that range when you are accepting our competitor for, a similarly priced piece of value, a piece of land company shares that for a range that's lower than what you just offered to us.
Look, Sasha, my client is a practical businesswoman, and I think these concerns has already she feels quite perplexed over this whole issue. So, Sasha, maybe could you shed some light on this?
I think Adya would be a better person suited to, take this particular question from my side. Please, Adya.
So at this stage, I think there would be a couple of concerns that we would like to address. First is that maybe if this is something that you would be willing to disclose to us, first for how you maybe came to know about a possible bid that Farm Oil might have put, or the exact value of that bid. Secondly, if when you say that you would be uncomfortable discussing something in the range of 18,500 to 19,000, but you mentioned that something slightly above the original bid. So can we take that? Do we take that to mean slightly above as in 16,000, or does that mean that you're willing to match a market value if, as you believe that Farm Oil is offering it at 18,000? Are you willing to match 18,000 or go a little above that? And thirdly, I think we would like to know if, thirdly, we would just like to highlight that, all right, I think, Sasha, there's something that you can disclose at this stage. If we can reach a possible agreement about something, then we might have, as you were interested in a future relationship in the as you discussed beginning during your agenda. I think this might be a place to disclose it if we can, reach an agreement regarding these first two concerns. Could you just highlight these concerns again and just disclose it if you see fit?
Definitely. I feel the first two questions you've asked are really, really relevant. I would really like to know that how, I'm really interested in knowing that definitely your sources are, how, you believe that, a particular company is, going ahead and for a particular amount of, bidding. We're really interested in knowing that because we do carry out all this process in utmost confidentiality and everything. That's number one. And I believe there's the right question. And secondly, definitely we'd bring to know, would you be, if that's something, if a figure you believe, which you have said, right, would you be willing to go slightly above that figure? So these two questions, and if those, contingencies in those questions are met, maybe we can talk about the future opportunities as well. Off to you, Leslie and Anselm.
Hi, thank you, Adya. You're certainly a great counsel. And I'm a great listener too. I heard that you are looking at 18,000 per share. Correct me if I'm wrong. So it seemed like you, on your side, you have looked to reduce the per share price by 500 rupees. Leslie, would you like to add some words to this?
All right, I'm not sure.
I'm very sorry to interrupt. I might have to take a break at this point. I'm in a little bit of pain. I think if I could just get a minute or two, just a minute.
Sure. Yeah, sure. Take it.
Yeah, sure. Adya, please take care of yourself.
Oh no, please. Yeah.
Shall we take a break? A few minutes break?
Actually, we can take a break of 3 minutes. I will start the timer for 3 minutes right now.
Thank you. Just to check on your sheets. Fine. Thank you.
Thank you
Sure.
so much.
Thank you.
Hi. Adya just had a little medical issue. There's some sort of pain. She's just trying to get better, drink some water, takes small rest, and she's just coming back. And then we can resume. Thank you for understanding.
Sure. Thank you, Sasha.
No problem. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
I'm so sorry for the unplanned break, and thank you so much for understanding.
Absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine out there. Health is really important. Before we move forward to the response, right, and there was a break. So I wish to do two things at this juncture. Number one, I wish to clarify one question which Adya and I asked. So Leslie and Anselm, what we said, the first question was very clear. We just want to know, how did you come to know, what you're claiming? Where do you have the information of the same? Because this is something which we carry out in a utmost confidential manner. Just interested. Secondly, is that since you said slightly about, we want to know what's your range like, right? We're not committing to a price. We're not reducing. We're not increasing. We just want to know what's your range looks like. Since we gave you a range, you want to know what's your range like. That's why we said 18 million, since you claim that amount, or slightly higher than that, right? Okay. Now I would request the mediator to just, summarize these things and put proper in order. So, we can just begin from where we left.
Certainly. Shall I summarize where you have come so far? And let me put it in the chat as well. This is how it's been the process. So we started discussion about the economic goals, and you took some time to discuss the communication and delays, which was in the beginning, and exploring the reasons, but also then kind of provisionally sharing your expectations about how the future will be, that in terms of the delays, and you've discussed the open lines of communication in the future. And we have then come on to the issue of share price reevaluation for this seat Oil North, and you have mentioned that the market price, and I think the responding party shared the range in the beginning of the 18,500 and 19,000. And the Leslie and Anselm, you've shared the information that, according to the information you have, another bidder for the South Plant has proposed a different price, which was 18,000. So this is where you were, and I understand that Sasha has asked, and you would like to, you shared your range, and you would like to know what is the range that Leslie and Anselm would be open to consider.
Thank you, Ms. Mediator. I'm pretty sure my client has a clear answer to this. Leslie, would you like to share the table?
I think we have a very conclusive answer with regards to the range, and we are actually looking at a range. We are actually looking at a range of 16.5K to 18K. And I think earlier, I perhaps correct me if I'm wrong, but I think earlier your counsel mentioned that she proposed for an amount which is within our range, which is 18K. And I think this is something that we can agree to, because this is within our range and it's something proposed by Adya herself. So we were wondering if that we can come to an agreement on this amount.
And Sasha, with regards to your first question on how my client would know, how my client would come to know about this deal, this potential deal between Farm Oil and the Midland government, I believe that my client's company is a huge multinational company, and we have vast business intelligence sources. Rest assured, Sasha, if it's something that you would like to clarify, I think my client is also interested to know too. Thank you.
Sorry.
All right, I hear you. I must say, laud your sources. You're doing a lot of business intelligence around. With respect to the figure, so Adya, I think a figure of 18,100 would be fair. What do you think?
I think that it's a little early to talk about that, since their agreed range is 16,500 to 18,000, and our agreed range is 18,500 to 19,000. So there seems to be a lot of disparity, and just agreeing to 18,100 at this juncture does not seem like a very feasible idea. At this juncture. But Anselm, Leslie, there is something that Sasha wants me to disclose to you. And that is that there are certain things that we have thought about regarding our future relationship, which was so important to you, that you highlighted it in your agenda and your opening statements. And that is something that, we would be willing to discuss, but we cannot begin to start considering it until we reach some sort of agreement on this. And we reach some sort of, some potential zone of agreement, which is fair at the end of the day, fair to us, and fairly compensates us for the shares in the concerned share purchase agreement. But at the end of the day, 18,000 is not there. And so we cannot start discussing such things. And that's a pity, I think, at this point of time.
Thank you, Adia. I know that the session is coming to a close. I really thank you for being so forthcoming and open to this mediation. And it seems like we have reached the goal of our second agenda point, which is to open communications line and build better investment relationship between both parties. And I'm really, really glad. So with respect to
Time's up, everyone.
All right, let me summarize where you have come so far. Once again, I will copy in the chat the progress that you have made today. And I believe on the first issue, I will not repeat myself, but you've made a big progress in terms of the communication issues in the past and also communication issues looking forward. And then I believe where you have come in terms of the share price revaluation is, as I understood, is a range between 18,000 and 18,500. These were the last figures that I've heard from the requesting party and the responding party respectively. And there was also a mention of another opportunity, which I understood from the responding party, that is contingent upon agreement on the share price for the North plant. So this, I suggest that unless you have comments or additions to where you have come today in this mediation, this could be the starting point for your next meeting.
Definitely. Sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Anything to add? Anything to comment?
I'd just like to say that this mediation process has been so fruitful and so smooth. Thank you so much, Ms. Mediator. Thank you, Sasha. Thank you, Adia, for being so open to us. And we even managed to address our second agenda point. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Leslie and Ansem. And we believe that we made great headway while we have been, forthcoming, and we have built our trust and confidence, and we've been realistic, throughout our mediation. And we've not just agreed towards the end on any figures, that we just want to take it carefully, slowly, and make sure, after building trust, we go towards that process. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
Thank you so much for.
Thank you so much.
I thank you very much to all teams and of course by the mediator for the mediation session and the overall performance. And what will happen now is the assessors will move on to the scoring segment. So essentially the assessors will receive a notification to join the breakout room, and Cyril will be entering the breakout room with them and will return to this room for feedback, the general feedback session, once the scoring is complete. And as for the participants, please remain in the main session as we wait for the completion of the scoring session. Thank you so much. And yes, it was a very interesting session.